Never heard these sounds. I never heard these sounds. Hey, y'all, welcome back. Today we're checking out I had never heard these sounds before moving to the UK as an American.
Number 1 is church bells ringing. And it sounds insane because America is full of churches on every corner. But churches with bells are harder to come by, especially outside of the Northeast. So if you visit the Northeast, there's going to be more traditional churches with bells kind of built in that European or British style. And then as you expand west, like into the frontier and down south into Florida, we have a lot of churches, but not a lot of bells. And is this a convenient time to tell you that I have another For the Love video out all about bell ringing? Yeah, it is. What a random topic that I decided to do. I have another episode of For the Love out, this time all about bell ringing. I got a chance to have a go, and I got to talk to a group of bell ringers all about why they enjoy this very classic English tradition. So if you're interested, again, this is just a free video on my other channel. Check it out in the description below. Now,
I'm trying to think about the last time I heard church bells, and I can't remember. I can't remember the last time I know I've heard them, but I can't remember the last time. I think the church that I went to when I was a little kid would ring bells. Wait, would they though? There was a bell at the very top of the church, but I don't think it rang. And as a little kid, I used to climb up behind my mom, and my grandmother used to both play the organ at my church. So I would go there when my mom would rehearse on the organ, and I would just kind of explore around the church. And it was built in the 1800s, and so it was a really old building with all these weird little nooks and crannies, like really narrow stairwells that probably were not up to code. But there was an area at the very top where there was a bell. I don't think it rang though. I think it was just there. Wait a minute. What? Huh. Yeah, I would not have expected this. I know I've heard church bells ring. Maybe it's just on TVs and movies. Weird. Y'all be sure to go to Girl Gone London and like and subscribe, and maybe check out her other channel. I would have thought by now most churches had mechanical bell ringing, you know, like a electrical thing that made the bell ring, but I guess they don't. It's a tradition. That's kind of cool. It looks fun, like the way they have it set up. Anyway, okay, what next?
so if you're interested, again, this is just a free video on my other channel. Check it out in the description below. Now, the next sound on my list
Hang on,
is...
I can't let it go. I want to look this up. I gotta look it up. First United Methodist Church, Live Oak, Florida. Okay. That's the church I went to growing up. And up here, well, this is the side of it. Up here is where the bell was. Pretty sure. I think there was a bell. Gosh, I don't remember. Whoa, this is taking me back, y'all. Whoa, this room. Oh my God. Wow. Y'all, I saw so many funerals there. And weddings. Oh my gosh. This is weird. And the bell was up behind the stained glass. That's where that... Weird. Very weird. Do they ring a bell? Can I ask them if they ring a bell? Does the First United Methodist Church in Live Oak, Florida, still ring a bell? Yes, the First United Methodist Church in Live Oak, Florida still exists and is part of the United... Well, okay. That's not the question I asked, robot, but okay, yeah, fine. I'm going to assume they still ring a bell. Okay, moving on.
Now, the next sound on my list is a boiling kettle. I had never heard an electric kettle boiling before moving to the UK. If you've watched this channel or loads of similar channels, you'll know that electric kettles are not as common in the US as they are in the UK. They're catching on a tiny bit.
Y'all, I hear that noise. I should say sound. It's not a noise, it's a sound. I hear that sound at least once a day when I make coffee, and then when I have enough coffee, I make tea, and I'm currently drinking tea.
But not so much. So I had never even seen, used, or heard the classic sound of an electric kettle before moving here. I had heard the whistle of a kettle that you can put on the stove. I had heard a microwave ding. Does that count? But I had never heard an electric kettle before. The next sound on my list is...
Yeah, mine goes whenever it's off. First it starts going and then it starts getting louder. But then as it starts to boil more, it gets softer. It starts going. That's what it sounds like. Actually haven't heard a microwave ding in ages because I threw my microwave away.
The next sound on my list is, I feel like, the iconic British sound of mail being pushed through your letterbox, particularly if it's quite a hefty delivery that day. And you can just hear like the postman fighting with it as he shoves it through. I've been scared by this sound multiple times while filming videos because I'm filming relatively close to my front door, and it gets me every time because I think there's an intruder.
That's hilarious. My cousin, who lives also in Los Angeles, I was dog sitting for her the first time. This was years ago, and she lives in a house that's probably 100 years old or something like that. So there's a mail slot, and the mailman shoves it. It's not in the door though. It's like in the side, and it comes through a wall. And when I first heard it, I thought someone was trying to break into the house. It scared the crap out of me. The dog ran over there. I was like, oh my God, what is that? Or I thought something was moving in the house. I thought the house was haunted, but it was the mail. Mail. That was the first time I heard that.
American houses, particularly the ones that I grew up in the suburbs, have mailboxes on the outside of the house. And so hearing that the mail or post had come was not really a thing. The next sounds on my list that I had never heard were English football chants. Now, I don't know that much about English football. I'm not gonna lie and say that I've integrated that well, but some of the football chants here are much different than the kinds of chants that Americans would use at sports games.
Y'all, I've reacted to a few videos about American versus British football chants. The British football chants are so creative. They're brilliant. And they're also not safe for work, but hilarious. They find the smallest little thing to annoy a player, and they'll attack that. They call people pedos. They accuse them of incest, bestiality, all kinds of the most horrible things. And it's hilarious. Yeah, it's so good.
American chants tend to be pretty boring compared to English chants because English chants, I feel like, are meant to be making fun of somebody, or it's meant to be kind of like a parody or satire, where Americans are just kind of too genuine sometimes for that, so they just start yelling like, "Go team." And the next sound on my list that I had never heard before moving to the UK is the sound of foxes screaming in the night. Whether you're in a city or in the suburbs in the UK, foxes are everywhere. I actually find them really cute. I know I'm not supposed to like go up to them, and I don't, but I do find them really adorable. But they're not adorable when they're screeching outside your window at 3 a.m. It often sounds like cats getting into a fight or a person meeting their demise. Can I say that on the internet?
Yes, you can.
But yeah. The sounds of foxes is not something I was used to in Florida. We had raccoons, and we had alligators, and we have bears in some parts of Florida, but not foxes.
I'm pretty sure there are foxes in Florida. I grew up in Florida as well, and we saw the occasional fox. I also lived in Atlanta, Georgia for a long time, and there are definitely foxes there. Where do foxes live? Map. Show me. Yeah, look at that. Yeah, they live in Florida. Red fox distribution. Yeah, as you can see here is Florida, and it is in the red. They do. But hey, I want to hear. Let's just hear it. Let's fox screaming. Let's listen to it. It's pretty. Oh, that's cute. It almost sounds like a whistle at the end. Oh. Kind of sounds like a bird too, like a big bird. Yeah. In my memory, they're more terrifying than that. Oh. Yeah. It sounds like it's in distress. That I don't like that sound. Okay.
The next British sound on my list is the sound of a town crier. Now,
Huh?
a town crier is something I didn't even
Wait, like hear ye?
think actually existed in real life until one time we went to Windsor and there was this man yelling things on the street corner dressed up. And to be honest, I thought that maybe he was not all there in his mind. Turns out he was, and actually he was employed and had a specific job to be the town crier for whatever event was happening in Windsor at the time. I have not heard a town crier in other towns that I've been to that aren't quite as like historic and touristy as Windsor, but that's not to say they don't exist. Also, by the way, I would love to do a For the Love episode on town criers. So if anybody knows one, email me and let me know. And the final...
They still have town criers? I could see that being something as part of a historical recreation, like a tourist type of thing, but like a current town crier? They're employed to make public announcements, traditionally by shouting in the streets with a handbell. Okay, but do they still have them? Current town crier with an eye. Wonder if there's any YouTube videos with the town crier. Oh, yeah, this is kind of what I expected. This guy dressed up.
Oh yay! Oh yay! Oh yay!
Oh, yay.
On this day, the 2nd of May.
Right, okay. That's what I expected. But they don't do that anymore, like as a like method of information transfer, right?
final British sound that I put on my list is the classic hymn named Jerusalem. Now, when I say this, I feel like my British audience are going to know exactly what I mean because it seems like everyone in this country has heard this hymn. This
Is that like the national anthem or a national anthem adjacent song?
is not something that I had ever heard in the US, and the one thing that confuses me about this, and this is where I need you guys to weigh in, is Jerusalem uplifting or sad? Because I've heard it at a funeral and I've heard it at a wedding, and I'm not entirely sure what that means in terms
Could
of
be both.
how it's meant to be received. I guess I can also add to the list many hymns I had never heard before moving to the UK. When I've been to churches in the UK, I often have no idea what everyone is singing, and the fact that they all seem to know the words. This also happens at British weddings that I go to, where I'm clueless. I have never heard this tune in my entire life, and they're all singing like they sung it their entire lives in assemblies at school, which I think is exactly what happened. Now that brings me to the end of this list. Just a short list for you today. Don't forget to check out my bell ringing video on the For the Love channel if you're interested. Make sure to hit subscribe over there if you want to see more For the Love videos. As always, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you, Caitlin. Y'all be sure to go to Girl Got One and like and subscribe. Jerusalem. I can't even think of what it sounds like, actually. Let's listen to it. This sounds uplifting. Creepy. It sounded like it's about Christianity coming. It sounds like what am I trying to say? The Crusades is what it reminds me of. Oh, it's about the legend of Jesus visiting England and the potential for England to become a new Jerusalem, a place of spiritual renewal and a symbol of heaven on earth. It questions whether Jesus' alleged visit established a kind of paradise in England and calls for a spiritual awakening to achieve this ideal. Jesus went to England? What? Did Jesus go to England? No, there is no historical evidence that Jesus visited England. The belief that Jesus visited England, particularly Cornwall and Glastonbury, is a legend rooted in the story of Joseph of Arimathea, who is said to have been Jesus' uncle and a tin trader, and in William Blake's poem Jerusalem. Here's why the legend persists despite a lack of evidence. The legend is tied to the idea that Joseph, a wealthy merchant, traveled to Britain for tin trade. Okay. So he could have. I mean, it could have. But we don't know for sure. It's fun to think that he was walking around. I think the Mormons believe that he came to America as well. Is that right? Do Mormons believe Jesus came to America? Yes, members of churches believe that Jesus Christ visited the Americas after his resurrection. So, England he went to England first, before his resurrection. Wow, that's interesting. I like the sentiment of it. I was going to ask why the lyrics in the first verse are questions. Did blah, 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 did this happen, da, da, da. So it's not like it's claiming that it happened. They're just saying, did it? It could have. Maybe it happened. Either way, let's make this a great world to live in, right? That's the thing I gathered from it. That's a nice sentiment. Well, y'all be sure to go to Girl Gone in London and like and subscribe and check out her other channel, For the Love. And I'd like to thank my patrons. I'd like to thank my Buy Me a Coffee folks. Thank y'all for watching this with me. And I'll see you next time. Later.